Hey guys, back up in the office today, and something same but a little bit different. Got a buddy of mine that lives a couple streets over, and he's always seeing people in and out of the driveway with their hot rods and whatnot. And he's watches some of my episodes, but not all of them. And he'd seen a couple of the Jeep episodes, and he happens to have an older. He's got an '03 Jeep Liberty with the 3.7, the pre Pentastar motor. And he goes, "Can you tune that?" And I'm like, "Well, let me put on my Jeep hat. And yeah, I can tune that for you." So that's what we're going to go over today. And there's a couple of small differences between JTEC and JTEC Plus. Nothing that you guys as learning to do this would need to know or worry about too much. So let's get started. Okay, so basically we have the engine type's a 3.7 V6. And again, on the JTEC and JTEC Plus, if you have the calibration, you can change it to anywhere from a 4-cylinder to any one of the V8s, 10s, all that kind of stuff. But we're not going to change any of that today. Idle, we know idle RPM. He's not changing cams or anything like that. And then the warm-up RPM and everything is good for this part of the country, so we don't have to mess with any of this. He hasn't put on a cold air kit or exhaust or anything like that, so all our airflow stuff, leave it alone. Okay, like I said, this is a real simple video today, guys. Real basic tuning. The fuel stuff, okay. We'll start with our fuel. In our fuel tab, the general stuff, injector offset, again, he's not changing to bigger injectors, anything like that. O2 sensors. Here's one of the differences in the JTEC Plus is the O2 heaters are selectable to whether you want the heater side of them enabled or not. We're going to leave it on enabled. Coolant temp, all that looks good. Again, fuel we're not going to mess with. Power enrichment. So here's where we're going to start making changes. We're going to go to our power enrichment by RPM tab. Well, first, let's change this a little bit. Okay, wide open throttle, open loop delay for the power enrichment. This is when the amount of time when you put the pedal down to the floor in seconds that the computer waits to add the extra fuel and stuff. This is 2.99 seconds. No, 0 seconds. Okay, so we get that right away. Minimum RPM 4,000. I'm okay with that. Well, let's change that to 3,500. So we can bring the power in a little bit sooner. All right, the rest of this part, throttle, all this stuff, we can leave alone. Power enrichment by RPM tab. And then, unlike the JTEC Plus, most of them will read the engine up to 6,000 RPM. And with this pre-Pentastar, and I'll eventually say that correctly, 3.7 V6, 6,000 RPM is enough. Again, if we wanted to change this to, say, 7,000, we would just click on here, make our changes. You've seen that video before. So this is all good. But what we want to do here is we want to add some fueling to go along with the extra timing we're going to give them for the engine. So we're going to highlight from 2,000 up. Okay. And anytime you're adding a bunch of timing with no other modifications, a good rule of thumb for these engines is about 8% more fuel. So we go 1.08. times. There's your new figures. You're good. Okay. 8% more fuel on the power enrichment. DCO cutoff 6,000. All this is fine. We don't want to make it burble or do anything weird with this, so we'll just leave all this alone. Okay, our spark table. Here's where we make the difference. Main spark EGR off. Okay, and here's the table we're looking at. And you can see, and I'll bring this up on the graph, it's a lot easier to see this way. From the factory, they got this crazy, bring it up to about 2800 RPM and then timing back down and then back up and back down. This is all for torque curve and emissions and blah, blah, blah. Okay. We want to get rid of all that. We want to give this engine the timing it wants, it needs, and deserves. So what we're going to do is go back to our chart. And again, where your 3/4 throttle to full throttle under load acceleration is going to happen in this lower 3 bands. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this 79.1, we're going to work with that, then we're going to copy that onto the bottom 2 layers. All right. I like this. We're in 20 degrees of timing by 1200 RPM. This is good. This is good. All the way up to 30. And then you see where it drops down and then eventually goes back up to 30. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these and we're going to end up at, let's say, 32 degrees of timing. Okay. And we're going to take all the way from 30 to 32. And we're going to do the blend on there. So it interpolates or blends or whatever you want to call it. So we get a nice smooth spark curve. And then we're going to copy this whole top row. Copy. And then we're going to paste it down here. And paste it down here. So the parts where the controls are telling the computer to, this is, you know, time to go, folks. We got 3/4 to full throttle. Now we have a decent spark curve. And what that looks like on the graph is like this here. Okay, real nice. We got a little bit here. That's a little funky, but if we just do this here manually, move the graph, and this is probably a 1/2 degree to timing somewhere. Oops. And it's all good. Looks good. That's a beautiful spark curve. And should make this engine run really, really nice. 23, 22, 26, 28. Yeah, it was probably right in here. So I'm real happy with that. And what we do with this is we copy this, close this table, go to our, again, these engines don't have an EGR valve, so we go to here and we paste this table into our EGR on table. Again, engine's never going to see this, but to keep everything symmetrical and the same, makes everybody happy, doesn't make weird things happen while you're driving. We go here to warm spark on a warm spark table and do the same. Paste all that good information in there. Wide open throttle modifier. This, you could change this all to 0. See, like this had, you know, under load it was adding a 1/2 degree, 1.5 degrees, stuff like that. We no longer need to do that because we did it on the other tables, so we can make those all 0. Okay, wide open throttle modifier, all 0s. Nothing to worry about there. Our intake air temperature. Why I like this table here is when the air is really cold, it adds a little bit of timing, make the engine warm up. When the air temperature gets really hot and the air gets thin, it does pull some timing, so I'm actually okay with that. I actually will, and what I'd like to do on these, since they are a negative number, you have to add a positive number. So you go 1 to add 1 plus, and that brings it to where it's only pulling a degree at 122 and 3 degrees at 149. We should be okay with that. Coolant temp, same kind of thing here. Engine's cold, it's going to add some timing, keep the engine warm. We don't need anything above 100 degrees. We don't need to add because we have already added. we can zero those out. Those are no longer needed. And then when the coolant temperature gets above 212 to 248, it's pulling timing, and I'm good with that. Save the motor, especially on these 3.7s. A lot of these other tables, we don't have to mess with any of this stuff here. Your torque management, just leave it alone. On the JTEC, just leave it alone. It doesn't need anything done here. The only other two things we're going to do for them here, for one, the speedo, we're going to raise the speed limiter from 105 to 188, which I like it at. Not that a Jeep Liberty could do 188 miles an hour, but you never know. And then system, we're going to look at for fans and all this stuff, temperature wise and things like that. All these settings look real good. Reset time for a second after you come off the high. After you come off your full throttle, when it cuts out the AC, you wait for a second for it turns back on. I'm okay with that. The diag, this is all good here. The VATs in this game were already disabled on this Jeep because it's just a regular key to start this. We don't have to mess with anything there. So, we're done with this one. So we would go ahead and, save as 3.7 V6 Jeep with timing and fuel. Load it back into the computer, take it back down to the guy, he'll plug it in, and he'll be happy on his way to work tomorrow. So, that's it for today, guys. Questions, comments, concerns on these 3.7 V6s in the Jeeps. You need one done for yourself, go ahead, get a hold of me. There's an email down there, or maybe it's this way, I don't know. Other than that, do all the stuff and the sharing and the liking and the subscribing. Yes, you want to do that. And then we will talk to you later. Thanks.